I honestly mean this. I don't blame a lot of liberals for what they think, because if you wake up and watch CNN and read the New York Times and go to work, right? You think about think about what both of them just said, right? So you wake up, you've got CNN on the morning of the Today Show, and you've got the New York Times in front of you, and you're like, wow, Donald Trump's a horrible person. He loves Hitler, and people need to be respected. And then you go to work, and they're telling you about diversity, inclusion, equity. Some people, and you're like, wow. I mean, like, if this is what you're indoctrinated with, right? And you think about all these institutions that are telling you the same thing: academia, Hollywood, the media, big tech, corporate America. You start to go, okay, all right, I got it. I'm bought in. And by the way, if you don't buy in, we're going to screw you. We'll cancel you. We will minimize you. We will make fun of you for not buying into this agenda. And you go, okay. And then Charles pointed out that there's a lot of people who say, I'm not buying in. I'm willing to stand up. And those are people on the right. But I say this all the time to people, and they don't understand this. Like, if you are a conservative, like, you have to be willing to brace for, being treated a certain way, because the every institution is against you. And so I think that's part of it. But I think as liberals, I mean, I hear a lot of these folks who say, God, during COVID, I finally had the time to hear what was happening in the schools, or I learned about this, and they've started to come on over. But, I honestly believe our institutions are what are dividing us. That's my 2 cents.
I'm legit wondering if there's a middle in the country right now, the way I look at things. Like, I'm not even sure what the middle, used to be. I mean, I think it used to be like that Reagan Clinton style of things.
I used to be called, I mean, Trump said this the other day on one of the podcasts. It's called common sense. I mean, Hilton brought this up. The idea that you are minimized for saying, God, I want my daughter to play on a team without a dude on it, or I want my daughter to be able to go into a locker room without a guy in there. Like, that used to be called common sense. And the idea of working hard in America and getting ahead. And now, like, we're told that that's not, what is it? There's no or equity, justice, or whatever. It's like, I mean, I was listening to a podcast the other day that said eating healthy is not social, is in conforming with social justice. And it's like, are you got to be kidding me? Like, healthy lifestyles are undermined by social justice because it's unfair to people of color. Like, what?
But this is the extension of that. This is the insidiousness of cultural Marxism. And it started in the 60s and the 70s, and it has permeated its way through now multiple generations of Americans. It changes the sheer definition. And I think we really hit a point maybe 15 or 20 years ago with, I don't like your idea, or I don't agree with your idea, but you're a good person. The left made this personal. It's now more, I don't like your idea. You have a bad idea. You are a bad person. That was the switch. That's how we got to this point. It's not like, oh, I just disagree. The whole, like, let's agree to disagree. The left doesn't do that. We do that because we're balanced people who understand that there are different values that you bring to things, but the left has now made your beliefs are you. If you have bad beliefs, you are a bad person. If your speech is not what I agree with, your speech is hate speech. It's that immediate linkage, and then we've codified laws around it. That's the dangerous part. That's like that. I mean, I run the nation's largest and oldest organization of gay conservatives, and we fundamentally don't support, quote, hate crime laws around these things, because you're trying to assign a value to a thought or speech. Speech does not beat people in the face. Thoughts don't. Actions do. So let's prosecute actions. But, like, what are your motivations for doing things? Your motivations don't do that. I have a lot of motivations to do things, some positive and negative in my life, that don't actually translate into actions. I wish some of my positive motivations, like going to the gym on a daily basis or maybe eating right, would manifest themselves into actions, but they don't. And just like that, but in law, and what the left has been able to do is they've assigned value to your thoughts and your motivations. And that it has been a gentle slide. You hit upon what happened, during COVID. Parents were starting to actually pay attention to what the schools were teaching them. And that was the full halt. We saw it with, critical race theory. That turned into radical gender theory, which is what we're dealing with now in Log Cabin. So this was the switch. And if I had been talking about cultural Marxism 4 years ago, I would have said, you're crazy. Like, get off the conspiracy theory train. And it comes up in everything I do now because it's so insidious and it's now so clear and we all see it.
And I have to say too, I think one of the biggest failures also in our society today are churches. Churches saying that they don't want to actually get involved because it's political. And we have, in California, my home state, the transgender bill for kids, allowing that state to take away kids from their parents when they think they're a different gender, and you completely remove the parent from the child. Churches stay quiet because they don't want to lose their tax exempt status. I remember I would go to church and I couldn't tell people that I worked in the White House or for Trump because our worship leader would say stuff like, I can go to bed or I can go to sleep at night knowing I didn't vote for that man. And I finally changed to a church who literally during the COVID, they shut everything down. They weren't going to follow government rules. They did for like the first 2 weeks because we were all in a crazy place. But at the end of that, they put a recall Governor Newsom poll or booth outside their church because they're like, we're going to be leading culture, not following culture. And I think if churches actually took that stance, we'd see a whole different country right now. But instead, they're bowing down to this woke left ideology.
Does that help you, Tom?
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm just going to take this. I'm just going to rip this and put it on my
go
side,
for
right?
it. Go for
Awesome.
it. Charles, I think, is the one that mentioned, Trump's going to be on Joe Rogan Friday. I wanted to ask you, so just again, does anyone think that, I know there was an initial rumor that Kamala might do it. You guys, Charles, do you think that she will in the last, so if he does it Friday, 12/11, in the final 10 days, do you think she shows up on Joe Rogan?
No, I don't think she does, because I think that it doesn't check enough boxes for her. I mean, if you look at the show she's doing, it's got to have there's got to be a gender angle and then a race angle, and it's got to be of some sort of progressive bent. And again, I just don't think that she can bend herself into enough places. Joe Rogan is not an easy show to do.
No, that's the other thing. He's not easy. Yeah.
And he's going to ask those questions. I mean, I think that Brett Baer interview the other week was a total joke. It was, I think, a giant middle finger to people and voters, particularly, who wanted to see her actually answer some questions. They did not get anything out of that. I don't think that she does it. And I've been dealing with Kamala Harris since 2010. I am too a Californian. In 2010, we ran Steve Cooley against her for Attorney General. That year, we lost by 1/9 of 1 percentage point, which was the closest loss of a candidate in California history. Kamala then chose to throw herself the biggest swearing-in party in California electoral history. She is literally failing upwards. You cannot word salad yourself through Joe Rogan. I mean, it's a waste of time for her, and I don't think that community and that demographic is going to respond positively.
Hilton, what do you think?
I mean, I want to see her go on just for the content purposes, but
I think we all do.
I mean, golly. Also, too, because Joe Rogan's known for smoking weed, right? I wonder if
oh, maybe she would. Hey, you get high.
That crossed my mind. I feel like that may be the only reason she went on. But no, I don't see her doing it. The Fox interview was too much of a fail, and you have to have an actual point of view to go on Joe Rogan. That's the whole reason for the show. That's why people love it, because he wants to, dig into your thoughts about whatever your shtick is. Kamala Harris is known as a chameleon. I don't know I think she would be all over the place and it would just do her harm.
Tom?
Yeah, I mentioned this on the Ground Game pod a couple days ago, and I really I'm watching for how Rogan performs. I want to see how he handles it. And, I mean, granted, he's not a traditional, straight ahead journalist, but he is conducting a news interview here. And I want to see, in the past, he has gone out there and, said that Trump has unregulated adult ADD. He's taken a couple pot shots before. I want to see if he presses him. Does he do the Brett Baer the Brett Baer to Kamala Harris? Or does he do the Howard Stern to Kamala Harris? And that's a big question, because you remember about, was it like a year ago when things were still kind of dicey in the primary? It looked like there might be an opening for DeSantis to hold on. I remember Roger Stone was out there pushing real hard in public. I think it was a Daily Beast story saying that that Rogan has to have Trump on, that it has to happen. And back then he was holding back. Now he's doing it, arguably at the exact right time. I mean, and potentially an October surprise to the extent there still can be those things. I'm very interested to see how Rogan handles the interview.
Real quick, Trump's going to Madison Square Garden this weekend, so he'll do Joe Rogan Friday. I think Sunday night is Madison Square Garden. If Kamala Harris called you and just said, I need to, like he did the McDonald's thing, he did Rogan, now he's doing Madison Square Garden. I need to do something iconic, game-changing in the final 10 days. Give me something I should do. Charles, what would you tell her could be game-changing, iconic on her side?
Go do an hour sit down with a news anchor who's not on her side, that's not pre-scripted, that's real and authentic. And I don't know how you would even verify it.
Yeah.
But that's the most important thing she has to do. Everybody in this country knows that she is literally skating through this. I mean, this is the 2024 version of campaigning from your basement. She's not actually giving interviews. This is in 2020, it was, we're not letting them out. It's all from your basement, but we have COVID as a cover. This year, we're not doing any real interviews. She's not done a single real interview in this election cycle. That would be the game changer for her, is if she actually, and people believed, okay, this is going to be a hard-hitting interview, this is going to be real, that there is independent verification, that like no questions.
You don't think the Brett Baer interview covered that? Baer was, I mean, frankly, I thought Baer did a great job, cutting in constantly.
Yeah, except it was 20 minutes long.
20 minutes. Yeah, and she stopped him.
Trump is doing multi-hour sit-down interviees. I mean,
Patrick Bet David the other day was like an hour and 20 minutes. All right, we end Thursday with winners and losers. Tom, give me your winner and your loser. We've got a couple minutes just to get through them.
Okay, let's see. How about I wrote this at 24 site, and I stand by it. I think Harris still has the edge in this thing. Absolutely. I know this is not the audience for it, but I look at the fundamentals. I think that
I don't know what. Maybe you're the one smoking the weed at Joe Rogan, because I don't know what fundamentals you're looking at. But
when I show up on the Rogan show,
okay.
No, but I do think.
All right, who's your loser then?
Loser right now. Oh boy. Geez.
All right, I'm going to Charles. I'll let you think about it.
I'll have one on the other side.
Charles, who's your winner and your loser?
Winner is the RNC and the ground game operation. This is these early vote numbers are amazing. Looking at the counties of Pennsylvania, what Scott Pressler has done to flip these counties. My sister lives in Bucks County. I'm watching that. Swamp the vote worked. The party changed the message from 2020. People are showing up early to vote, and they're getting it done. These turnout numbers are great. That is an enthusiasm bump we need going into it. Kudos to Laura and Mike and everybody at the RNC who successfully changed the messaging. Loser of the week, Jill Biden, literally having to go up there and say, oh, it's time to move on, and this is good that we're not running again. Come on. Everybody knew that you were the biggest enabler of him running again, and hid his mental and physical decline for this country and the world for the last 4 years. And you just had to go up there and just go do that. That's sad.
All right. Hilton, I need a winner and a loser.
Okay, winner and loser are the same people for two different reasons.
What's up?
It's Kuntz and Kinzinger. Did you guys see this? Shooting a rifle 10 yards away, shooting a steel plate with a rifle, and the bullet bounced off and hit a reporter, and the reporter started bleeding. I just feel like they're both winners and losers, because winner, they proved yet again that Democrats cannot take the gun messaging. They just can't take that gun messaging. They're horrible at it, and they clearly lose at it. And it's crazy that they're both veterans as well, and they were shooting that close a distance with a rifle. And then the losers, because the reporter got shot. So.
Wow. Oh, I got the loser.
You guys didn't see this?
I did. No, it's good.
No.
Right.
My friend Dana Lash, who you all know, like tweeted, and now I get what she tweeted, because it was anyway. If you go look at her tweets, it's these targets that you can use, and now I get why she tweeted it. Anyway, Tom, give me your loser quick.
Loser is polling aggregators.
Oh.
When this started like 16 years ago or whatever, we used to have a smaller sample. And in academics and statistics, when you feed things in, that's pretty unruly to begin with. I predict, and I hate these friggin' prognosticators. I just hate it. I think it's worthless because you have a real result. It's called the election.
Okay.
All right.
I'll tell
But
you
I
what.
predict
I will
it's
tell
the
you this.
polling
We may
aggregators.
disagree on the polling, but I will tell you, I did the road to 270 yesterday. Donald Trump is going to win, and decisively. So I feel bad for your predictions and your polling. My winner of the week is McDonald's. I just feel like they got so much great press. And I don't, I mean, there's some health issues, so please don't take that wrong. But like, you couldn't have scripted this better. You got both people talking about McDonald's and whether they work there and going there and da 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 da. I mean, they won a PR thing, except for the E. coli. Just to be clear, I'm not talking about the E. coli. Just talking about the PR of everyone wanting to visit there. My loser of the week is the inverse of what Charles said. I think Kamala's ground game, which is that everybody was touting for a while how this is awesome. How do you explain how bad you're doing? If it's this awesome and everyone was crapping all over Trump and the RNC and third party and outsourcing, and it's like, how do you explain how great you are when you're losing a state like Nevada in the early vote? I'm not saying they're going to lose it. I'm just saying you're clearly not as great as you thought you would. All right.
Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.